What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Shopper channel coming to you with a Tuesday edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. We just got this OKC game tipped off. And of course, they're off to a 6-point lead here in the early going of the first quarter. I'm going to be flying through this. I mean, we have all the lines for everything here already for Tuesday. So, hey, producer Jacob and I are going to get to recording. We'll go watch a little NFL here as well. Hopefully we can get Devon Echan in the box and Kyron Williams over 14.5 receiving yards. Those would be good things. You can check that all out at Tails. You can check out all of my videos that I'm posting here in the NBA Lindy's, MLB Lindy's. Obviously, it will be 6 months till we have that back in our lives or something like that. I don't know. Baseball's always existing. And then, well, yeah, NFL, NBA, we're going to be running the gamut on it. But lots to get to here today. I don't really have a lot to talk about here on the front end. We're going to keep on the grind here. Last week was not my best week in the NBA or the NFL for that matter, outside of Sunday, which was really, really nice. But the primetime slates, which I've kind of dominated, well, we'll see how Monday night comes out. But until then, producer Jacob, it's Tuesday. Let's party. Let's get to the picks. Oh boy, we've got a couple of uncomfortable games, and this is one of them that exists on the board. Atlanta, 15.5, 14.5, depending on where you're looking. People have already started to bet this thing, and it makes sense because Trae Young's out. I mean, this is going to get really, really dicey for Atlanta in this spot. I don't think anybody's shocked by it that Boston's massive favorites. They get Jaylen Brown back into the mix here. They have Tatum and Horford questionable, and that's the whole point of this. This is like an obvious potential rest spot. Boston at home. We've had Jason Tatum carry the load for the last week without Jaylen Brown in the lineup, and then Jaylen Brown returns. Kind of makes sense for them to have him rest, but not just him. It's Al Horford, Jaden Springer, which doesn't sound like it matters, but it's just one less guy who can be out there for him. And Baylor Shireman, who's just lighting it up in the G League right now, Baylor's finest. Definitely want to be paying very close attention to what we got going on here. Well, he's not Baylor, he's Creighton. But anyway, what I'm getting at here is the Atlanta side of things. No Trae Young. Dyson Daniels playing point. Garrison Matthews probably steps into the 2 or 3, however you want to look at it. And Reese Shea, the rookie, the number 1 pick, he's looked pretty decent, but like, this is just outclass situation here from the get-go. He probably eats up a lot more usage if you have Garrison Matthews as that starter alongside of it. Probably want to have big body thotty David Roddy coming off the bench. A Okongwu, of course, for Clint Capella probably makes sense to go to quicker. Like, you probably want to get that out there as soon as possible because Luke Cornett has had top 10 offensive rating. If you go to NBA.com and you just sort by offensive rating by each individual player, Luke Cornett, all these lineups that he's getting rolled out with, just buoy his numbers. And boy, oh boy, if Neemias Queta, this ends up being something where he doesn't necessarily walk into that starting unit because, well, they don't want to have Neemias Queta always pulling off stuff from the get-go here. Oh, Miami. Who's M. Washington? What are we even talking about? What is that? Anyway, we'll close this up. We're talking NBA. I'm looking at a single game parlay, and this is one way to do things, friends. You got yourself Boston, but then parlay it with a guy who's on the bench who just eats up all the usage. Oh, his name's Peyton Pritchard. This is like the extreme version of it where, you know, his points prop have gotten adjusted because he's playing a lot alongside starters, and he's been a key part of this rotation. Coming off of a really nice playoffs where, I don't know, he knocked down every half quarter at the end of every third quarter forever. But Peyton Pritchard's been turning into a rotational piece in the NBA. The favorite to win 6th man at the moment. I like Boston if you're going to take the spread here and you just want to push it to the max. 14.5, 15.5. Again, the numbers are moving all over the place up here in the upper teens. But Jason Tatum question, it's an interesting one. Probably don't want to do anything until closer to tip off of this one. Want to get that news. Again, you want to be on the Atlanta side if you were to have Tatum out, Al Horford out. You want to be on the Boston side if they play like I think they will. Just put the hammer down in this spot. Kind of a difficult one, but Peyton Pritchard, if you're trying to push that spread, a lot of scenarios where he goes for 15 plus in blowout run. Miami at Detroit here in this spot, and we have Jimmy Butler out here for the foreseeable future. Feel like this happens a lot. Now, foreseeable future meaning that I think he only probably misses 1 or 2 more games, but you never know with this one. He always ends up being like eternally out for random periods of time. We saw Hero, Rozier, Haywood Highsmith. Kevin Love started last time out, just rejoined the team there from personal reasons. Hopefully he's doing well. I know there's all of the mental health advocacy that he did a great job with up there in Cleveland and once upon a time in Minnesota with my Timberwolves. But shout out Kevin Love back in our lives to some extent. You got Duncan Robinson. Josh Richardson is back with that team too. Nikola Jovic Not the Jokic fellow who continues to set the world on fire with crazy triple doubles. But we got Jalen Duren news that we're waiting on here in this one. And I have a lean like clipped on this one purely because if you get Duren out there to kind of combat Bam Adebayo on that down low in the post, well, I think this is probably one where I could see myself pulling the trigger on the Detroit side of things. It's a team that people were writing off for dead, but now they're starting to make a little bit of a surge. Both these teams terrible against the spread so far this season, but I think Detroit, Cade Cunningham, starting to come into his own. Really like an opportunity that we have here. Maybe Cole Swider getting out there. Oh, swipe me, oh mighty Swider. Name that movie. Producer Jacob just wanted to get himself a little clip. Just whatever. Charlotte taking on Orlando here. They're 6-point dogs in this spot. And I have a weird one for you here because I was running some rates. And again, I try to do every single box score, 10,000 simulations. There's also some really good data that I have updated here in my corner of the woods where I can kind of do things more for the long term, which is kind of the name of the game. Sometimes, again, last week did not look pretty. And sometimes I got to kind of pull the reins in because I did want to kind of make this a play from the onset. But if you're getting plus money on Goga Batadze double-double here, I don't see how this isn't a nice box score going up against a Charlotte team that is still missing every single piece of front court depth. In fact, we're seeing plus 105 just on the over of 9.5 rebounds over in DK. That was the opening number. We're still waiting on some more books to introduce numbers, but I'm expecting some really nice plus money. And I repeat, Goga Batadze, I only have him in for 22 minutes here at the moment, and he's still coming around 9-8. I'm expecting big plus money here to potentially take this shot against Charlotte. And I repeat, if it weren't for the front court being decimated there, putting Grant Williams out there for actual serviceable minutes here and there, I mean, it is getting dire there in Charlotte. They need Richards back. They need Mark Williams back. Until then, well, there's spots like this with Orlando with Tristan da Silva. I mean, they're starting Salon. They're starting 94-year-old Taj Gibson. Sorry to his family. I know he deserves respect, but it is so dicey for me to want to do anything on their side of the ball without, of course, burying the lead. And the whole point here, friends, is to bet $5 and get $150 if you're in one of these beautiful 11 states, including down at the bottom, Pennsylvania, your newest state, and North Carolina, where I have this lovely bit. Come on and raise up, take your shirt off, twist it around your head, spin it like a helicopter. I repeat, friends, bet 5, get 150. Beautiful stuff. Jared Goff here. Jared Goff, the Lions. 5 interception man himself. We bet $5 for every one of his interceptions. You'll get 150, which is how many interceptions it felt like he threw in that football game. But anywho, the Lions are fantastic, and this deal is fantastic. So go to the link below if you're one of those 11 states and sign up now. Only for 21 and over, 18 and over in Kentucky. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Back to the picks we go. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. We've got ourselves Cat on the loose. New York Knicks taking on Philly, but he has a massive stoic individual on the other side of this one. Joel Embiid going to be making his debut. Him and Paul George, neither one on the injury report. What a time to be alive. Maybe this has something to do with their corresponding records. Speaking of records, it's insane when we get to the next game, the current records of those teams. Well, one of the teams that makes sense. The other one, it's just so weird. But as I look at this game and start breaking it down, Joel Embiid, he really matters. Also saw a number where Karl Anthony Towns, 32 of 35 opposing teams are shooting in the restricted area against him. There is no rim protection in New York. Joel Embiid is going to potentially have a field day, but they kind of knew. The New York Knicks kind of knew what they were getting into when they didn't re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein and they made the trade for Karl Anthony Towns. Well, you're going to try to out-offense people, and Karl Anthony Towns needs to keep his hands to himself in some way, shape, or form, and really they need to somehow get Mitchell Robinson back from the land of the dead right now. He's not coming back for many moons. I think it's many moons is the correct way of looking at it. I've got him, like eternally out, forever. It's got his return date like February. Oh, good luck with that. Yeah, Joel Embiid looks pretty darn good here too, but the more I run this, the more I'm interested in Karl Anthony Towns. And be careful with props, because one thing that people probably aren't paying a lot of attention to is the juice next to it. And it's probably the thing I pay the most attention to on a day-to-day basis. Now, I have Karl Anthony Towns for 25 and change, and that is not going to be a lot considering it's minus 125, or you have to play this at 23.5 minus 115, which is kind of the prevailing number. DraftKings has this at minus 125, and so you have to run this. You have to say, is that point worth it? Well, it's worth it as long as you're getting the type of number where that range of outcomes, covering that 23 number is kind of important to me going up against Joel Embiid, potential foul trouble. Karl-Anthony Towns has been revelatory on the offensive end. We've ran his points and rebounds numbers all the way up. It's 33.5 in a slow-paced 216.5 game. Now, the 76ers are without Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid in the half court, Paul George in the half court. Probably going to be slowing it down, but my whole point is that we were getting 30.5, 31.5 on points plus rebounds just in like up-tempo games here a week ago. These are the kind of things that we try to be ahead of on this program. And yeah, well, it wasn't my best betting week last week. I still feel good about the reads. I have no regrets. No regrets tattooed across my chest. There's no tattoos on my chest. But what I'm getting at is Karl-Anthony Towns, I like it. Over 22.5 points at minus 125 or better. That's the whole point of that. I don't have a ton for you here, although there's tons of news. And Toronto plus 8.5 taking on Milwaukee. And I said it before, I'll say it again. The records of these two teams is downright hilarious to me, because did you see this coming to fruition? I did not see Milwaukee being this piss poor, because last year I hung my hat out there saying Dallas was going to be competitive in the West. Well, I kind of hung my hat out there saying Milwaukee was going to be competitive and they would find a way to have Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo share the floor together. Well, Giannis is leading the entire league in points per game. Damian Lillard is still continuing to be somewhat efficient, and there's no defense. So that's kind of a problem. And Brook Lopez, another year on the old tires. Oh, defensively, you still need to have things showing up from him. You need him to knock down threes. They have no wing depth. They have no other guard depth either. It's getting dicey there. But think about some of the pieces that they've had to part with. Dante DiVincenzo, they're starting guys like Andre Jackson Jr. out there on the floor now. Yeah, things are going to look dicey. And well, Toronto, they've got Emmanuel quickly sitting there questionable, and that kind of puts everything into disarray. One, we're not going to get the Toronto props here early. Two, I don't really know what they want to do here going forward. I mean, Davion Mitchell will obviously come in and start there, but with RJ Barrett, Grady Dick out there, oh God, these numbers when they get reintroduced are going to be inflated to places we probably don't want to go for an 8.5, 9.5 point dog. And that just has me looking at Giannis 30+. I brought it up before. He's leading the league here. This is probably going to open at like 31.5, 32.5 if we're being honest. I don't mind it as a parlay piece. I know you're probably going to do it whether I want you to or not. The whole point of leans are the things I'm thinking about betting. And Giannis, I'm never really looking at stars. I mean, I just bet a cat over on props, so riddle me that, Batman. But normally, we're probably going to end up shorting more guys in these scenarios, especially when you combine it with tails, portfolio EV, all the stuff at OddsShopper that's showing you there's a lot more value on some of these unders than people are looking at. But Giannis 30+, feel pretty comfortable at that low number that he continues to smash from an offensive perspective. And you guys want to jump on and join me for free in tails? Well, down at the link below, there's an awesome opportunity for you. There are 5 pick'em sites on the left side of the screen. There are 5 sports books on the right side of that graphic, and rebets sitting at the bottom. And you have a great opportunity. If you sign up for any one of these, you'll get my premium tails package following these 4 steps completely free. All you do is sign up, take advantage of the deposit bonuses because they're awesome. I mean, whether that's at Bet365, where you have the Bet 5, get 150, whether that's at DraftKings Pick 6, where it's Bet 5, get yourself $50. We have tons of great promotions going on with those sites. You take screenshots of your welcome email and first settled bet, and you email support@oddshopper.com. That is support@oddshopper.com with those screenshots down below. Would love to see you in the Discord getting all the plays, updated plays, tons of news tomorrow for tomorrow. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. 5 down, 3 to go. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and we're going to start ramping it up right here. Phoenix taking on Utah in this spot. And I know Kevin Durant's out for the foreseeable future. It sucks because Kevin Durant has looked really good, not just with Team USA over the summer, where they were very slow with him, very much easing him into it. But then, Phoenix just kind of put the pedal to the metal. He was playing the most minutes of anybody in the NBA before getting hurt on a per-game basis. Again, that's just insane. Kevin Durant is starting to get towards the back nine of his NBA career, and all of a sudden he's just ramping up playing the most minutes. I think that was kind of negligence. I think it's also probably what Kevin Durant wanted to do. They've been playing competitive. They had been in good spots, but now it's going to be a lot of Devin Booker and Bradley Beal having to carry the load. And Bradley Beal himself, we know all of his health concerns. He continues to carry an eternal question mark, it feels like, in a spot like this. But he's off the injury report, and Yusuf Nurkic is the guy for once that's put onto it. Now, Mason Plumlee, this is a guy I kind of have a stand for, not just because he's a Dookie, not just because he's one of the better, more underrated passers. I mean, we just saw that first game right out of the gate with Phoenix. I mean, Mason Plumlee had infinity assists in the 26 minutes, 6 assists, 6 points, 11 boards against Sacramento there in relief duty of Nurkic, who did not play that second half. I don't really care about Nurkic all that much. I know that that's kind of blasphemous to say, but Utah on the other side of this one, they have a true center in Walker Kessler. And then it's Collins and Filipowski playing behind him there. And Filipowski's playing himself into this rotation with what he's able to do on the offensive end. Looks a lot better than Cody Williams, whose minutes are starting to dwindle a little bit here at the small forward, power forward position. But I like Phoenix in this spot regardless, mainly because you have another piece of news on the Utah side of things. Keontae George. I kind of have a thing for this dude too. I know it's Jordan Clarkson getting added, and then it'll just be Clarkson, Sexton, Cody Williams, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler with some minutes of Patty Mills. Why is he on this team? I don't know. The world may never know. Drew Eubanks is there if they need the depth, but they probably won't in this spot. And of course, John Collins, been playing decent for John Collins standards. I still like the Phoenix side of this one. Devin Booker just going to go ballistic without Kevin Durant on the floor. Royce O'Neal getting mixed in, and new starter Ryan Dunn. I think this kid looks nice. He just got signed onto a little bit of a deal from Nike here too. I think they recognized, while it's not crazy usage or opportunity coming up here early for him, he's in this starting unit. I like Phoenix at a small half unit play. I think you should be adding this before it's 3.5, especially if George ends up ruled out. Just another piece that they can't go to. It'll probably close around that 4.5 number. To the game of the day for sure, Dallas at Golden State. And it's very hard to look at anything on Golden State and not take them seriously. They just ran OKC out of the gym. Sure, they knocked down Chet Holmgren, knocked him out for the foreseeable future. Again, that's a guy who might be out till March. Oh, just so much run bad for Oklahoma City at the center position. Hopefully Zubats is taking care of that here at the moment. But I digress. As I look across this landscape of a basketball game, two major things stick out. First one, the rotations here for Golden State. Andrew Wiggins is questionable with a low back strain. I think he's more likely to play than not, and he's looked awesome in such limited sample sizes. I also had brought this up where I'm starting to incorporate more of the NBA offensive defensive rating into my player evaluations, carrying that over to Dunks and Threes where they have player evaluations, and I'm cross-referencing the two to see if there's something that stands out. And Trace Jackson Davis, only playing 16, 18 minutes in some of these spots, but one of the best offensive ratings and a 104 defensive rating. This guy is really making an impact. And I think that's extremely important when you talk about Daniel Gafford and the questionable Derek Lively. Now, Derek Lively, not questionable as a person. He's very, very good. Also a Dookie, but he is coming out there and defensively doing a lot of really good things. I bet his first game back here, it's more of like a 22, 26 towards the Gafford side of things. But the other thing for Dallas is they get Najee Marshall out there. They're going to still be with a doubtful PJ Washington, who won't be out there for minutes. Lots of small ball lineups. I mean, these are going to be like chess pieces on a chessboard. Lots of weird minutes you could be running into, and that's really tough from a prop perspective to find anything that you can pin down, because anything with that uncertainty is not currently listed as of me recording this. So I looked at Steph Curry, 24.5. That's pretty efficient from a points perspective. But D'Anthony Melton under 17.5 PRA is one that I was a little surprised to see stack up there. He is in this starting unit. Andrew Wiggins, if he ends up out, D'Anthony Melton will actually end up looking like a smash at this number, which is why this is a lean for the time being. But if Wiggins ends up in, and we're able to react to this, they're still going to play Kyle Anderson, Brandon Bajemski, Gary Payton II, Moses Moody. This starting lineup, while that configuration looked great against OKC, Steve Kerr just does weird shit all the time. So if you can get bench pieces like Melton that show up like they're currently listed, this is minus 128 over at Caesars at the moment. It's on my radar, something I'm definitely thinking about betting. And we reached the lock portion of the program, the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. And I don't think there's enough adjectives in the dictionary to encapsulate just how terrible this Portland team is on the offensive end of the floor. Now, they ended up parting ways with Damian Lillard. It's not exactly going well for Damian Lillard here at the moment, but I would argue to say that things have really not been going well for Anthony Simons, for Scoot Henderson, for Shaedon Sharpe. I mean, this backcourt is just atrocious on the defensive end. And now offensively, we're looking at the worst team so far. I mean, they are worse in terms of adjusted offensive rating than Utah, than Washington, than Detroit. And they're adding a 26th ranked adjusted defensive rating. In fact, at 3-8, I've already kind of planted my flag on Washington unders where it was like 19.5 wins. Like, it was some atrocious numbers that were there at open for the win totals. But Portland's kind of pushing them here. I don't know how they're 3-8. I mean, I did try to bet them one time this year. I regret everything about that. But I look at Portland right now as the weakest team in the NBA. In terms of strength of schedule, they've played a decent enough schedule where it's 10th in terms of strength of schedule, 8th in adjusted offensive strength of schedule. So they haven't exactly had it easy. This is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we're starting to see, you give them a day off in between here, and it is going to look very, very poor for you. They can play small ball. They can go to Randall at the 5. They can go to Naz Reid at the 5. They can go big with Rudy Gobert. They can play multiple types of lineups. And also, it's the healthiest team in the entire National Basketball Association, other than, of course, the Portland Trailblazers at the other side. I'm getting this game straight up, and I've got it at 12. Dunks and Threes has this at 12. Everybody I respect from a NBA analytical perspective has this closer to 12. And it is currently minus 112 at 8.5 on FanDuel as of recording this. This is going to look eerily similar to that LAC spot. Again, I don't care if it wins, loses. My goal is to get you closing line value when I'm locking spreads like this. Yesterday, we got 10.5 there for everybody who was tailing on the Clipper side and got in early. Closes at 6.5. This is at 8.5, and this has to close double digits. I would be shocked if people were not pushing this up to double digits, and I would still be betting this for like a half unit, minus 10, minus 10.5. But at minus 8.5, I've sent the full unit here. It makes too much sense. Minnesota Timberwolves hasn't been the best, easiest start for them by any means, and they're still 7th in adjusted net rating for me, 3rd in adjusted defensive rating, 14th in offense, and that's going to improve as we accumulate sample size. They have too many good pieces. Mike Conley, DiVincenzo, they can split those minutes however they want. I mean, Minnesota is the much, much, much better team. Let's take advantage. This is a lot to be laying on the road, and I still don't care. Closer to 12. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. You know what to do. Go to that comment section below. Let me know what you ended up firing up here for Tuesday's slate. I'm going to be checking the comment section Wednesday. We've got another massive slate coming our way, so tons of NBA. Utilize your bankroll appropriately. If you have any questions about the leans, the likes, the locks, hit me up on X at Eric Lindquist. Would be happy to let you know. Thank you, producer Jacob. Thank you, Bet365. Tails, great stuff as well. I'm going to be hanging out in that Discord. Would love to see you there. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NBA streets on Tuesday.